What is up, everyone? OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to my village of Nintendo Switch and gaming news ninjas. Today we've got some great information for you, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So Zoink and Image and Form Games have both talked about the Nintendo Switch, the development tools, and the setup compared to previous Nintendo systems, and it seems like they're very happy about what Nintendo has done with this system, the Nintendo Switch, over what they've done previously. So Nintendo has made a big deal about how third-party developers are going to be part of the Nintendo Switch, especially these smaller indie developers with the types of tools that they're using on the Nintendo Switch. And this is very different from what the Wii U and 3DS had to offer, where support with popular game engines such as Unity was very sketchy, and stuff like Unreal Engine 4 definitely didn't work at all and was not ported over to the system. So speaking with game industry, Zoink CEO and creative director, can't say his name, but that dude talked about how Unity is supported on the new Nintendo Switch console. So quote, "We tried to do Zombie Vikings for Wii U. When I got Unity, I could see it just wasn't going to work. It was too slow an engine. Then we got Unity for Nintendo Switch and we saw directly, wow, it's actually working and the tools are much better." So that part is very important for most indies. Most indies are using Unity, and that makes a huge difference. It feels like they are pushing Unity more to make it good from the beginning. On a similar note, Image and Form CEO actually spoke about how developing for the Nintendo Switch is easy thanks to its straightforward nature and power. Quote, "We've made games for the Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo DSi, in addition to the Wii U, and they all had some issues. The Nintendo 3DS and DSi were just weak. Since we were developing for them specifically, it wasn't like we were watering down our games, but all the time through development, we had to think about how to not overtax the system. With the Wii U, there was more power, but you had the gamepad where you could use the screen and the TV at the same time, so you had to show different things and take that into consideration. This is straightforward, period. What you see on the big screen is what you're going to see on the handheld as well. It's a very simple and powerful and ingenious. It's a home console and a portable unit. Everybody's wanted to say that in the past, but here it is now. It's powerful and it's really easy to develop for. There's not really much wrong with the system." So that's very encouraging words, especially for an indie developer when they talk about the power of the system and what they're going to do. They don't have the money to really take advantage of the PS4's power or Xbox One's power. So I think the Nintendo Switch, when you're talking about a portable and a home console, especially for a developer like Image and Form who developed on portable consoles such as the PS Vita and the Nintendo 3DS, this is definitely a dream system for them because they knock out two birds with one stone. And I think that's the biggest thing for all of Nintendo's indie developers, and one of the things that many of them said, and I don't know where that article is, but I know it was an interview with Emily Rogers. She interviewed her and she got a lot of the different developers to talk about what they want from Nintendo's next system, and this is indie developers, and pretty much all of them, or most of them, said of course more power, but they said, hey, we want one development atmosphere. We don't want to have to code for the 3DS and then also code for a home console like it did with the Wii U. That put many of them in a bind and just kind of made it to where certain games couldn't come over and there was issues. So the fact that Nintendo listened to them more than anything and they got what they wanted basically definitely helps out with development. And you're going to see a lot of different indie developers and mid-sized developers support the platform at the beginning like you're seeing, and then once sales take off, which they've been doing, I'm pretty sure third-party developers have started to take notice, especially with the strong start of sales with the Nintendo Switch. Alright, and moving on to the next article here, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild breaks Metacritic's record for the most 100 ratings with 43. The previous record holder, I think, was Super Mario Galaxy or GTA 4 with 42,100. So this is very significant, and this is a monumental achievement for Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch console. But let's talk about all of these 100s it's getting. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, to me, is easily the best Zelda game of all time. I think it really is, because it takes a lot of the different aspects that you've seen. Heck, it takes some aspects of Wind Waker, it takes some aspects of Twilight Princess. It has a lot of the original Zelda DNA in there, but then it layers on its own unique and innovative touch to it as far as modern gameplay design. There's just so many different things and layers upon layers. It's a complex game that seems very simple at the beginning, but then you just start peeling the layers off. That's just the best way to describe it. It's just a lot of layers to what you can do within the game. Certain things, like for example, just like the cooking and how the cooking is actually fun. Unlike other games, sometimes cooking is not fun. That's not focused. For example, like Cooking Mama. That's a fun game, right? But then you have other games that try to do cooking in a mini game, then it becomes not very fun or it becomes tedious. Another example of that is Final Fantasy 15. The cooking, and even when you find out a new recipe, it completely stops the game to a halt and says, "I've got it, a new recipe," and then you have to sit there and wait. So that's one of the things that I necessarily didn't like, but how The Legend of Zelda makes cooking actually interactive and fun when you're trying to look at the recipes and you're creating your own stuff. You're not just waiting to collect and say, okay, well, this is going to create this. You put in whatever and then you find out those recipes yourself. So that's how it takes certain things that other games have tried to do and actually makes it super fun. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure that there's other games where there's side quest cooking games and they're fun. But The Legend of Zelda to me is one of the best just because of the way that it's done and the little noise that it makes when you're cooking, especially if you cook something really good. But overall, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think it deserves every bit of the scores that it's getting. The combat, the story, the graphics, everything is quite amazing. The world size, the map, the tools that are given to you, how they're given to you so early in the game, and how you can just play around the weapons. The boomerang in this game is a little mini game in its own right. When you throw it, you actually have to press the A button to catch it. Even little things like that just put a smile to my face. The first time that I threw a boomerang, I threw it, came around, and I saw the button A come up. I'm like, what, A? And it just like flew right by me. But it was funny because there was an enemy behind me and it smacked the enemy behind me. So there's just so many different things that this game offers that just a lot of other games just don't do. And like I said, this will be the Ocarina of Time pretty much for this generation, and it's that and even more. So congrats to the team over at Nintendo. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a blast. I'm still playing it a ton myself, and I'm not anywhere near done. Can't wait for all the new content coming to the game in 2017 with DLC as well. All right, and moving on here, we do have something that I've been saying for quite a bit here. Quality over quantity, and that pretty much proves true with the Nintendo Switch launch lineup, because the Nintendo Switch enjoys the second best reviewed launch lineup in history, and a lot of that is definitely due to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But let's go ahead and look at the titles here and the analysis over at finder.com/AU. So the Nintendo Switch is looking to prove that quality, not quantity, is what makes for a good launch lineup. In the lead up to the release of the Nintendo Switch, a lot was made of its relatively small launch lineup. Our own analysis showed it was the smallest list of games for the launch of any console in 21 years. Not only that, they have the smallest number of console exclusives too. Now that the Switch is out in the wild, read our impressions here, review scores for games are rolling in and they're shaping up relatively well. We crunched the numbers on the Metacritic review scores for every console and every handheld released since 2000, and it's not the healthiest run of numbers you've ever seen. Across the 15 devices released, the launch lineups have averaged a score of 71.77 from critics. The best performer, believe it or not, was the Nintendo GameCube. Across 12 launch games, it landed an average score of 78.17. It's a clear winner. Currently sitting at second on the list is the Nintendo Switch. Its average review score of 75.89 puts it ahead of the GBA at 74.94, the Xbox 360 of 74.68. Obviously, there are more reviews to come from sites tracked by Metacritic, but the early signs are that the Nintendo Switch could have the second best reviewed launch lineup ever. The Nintendo Switch may not have had many games, but what we do have access to is better than what we've come to expect from most console launches this century. For the record, the highest scoring games are The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is a 98, Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment, which is an 87, Snipper Clips Cut It Together, which is an 81, and Fast RMX, which is an 80. The worst is 1-2 Switch, which is a 56, and it says that they feel it should have been bundled in the game for free. I feel it shouldn't have, because that would have actually made people think, oh, you're charging more for the system for this crappy game. So I don't think that would have been a good idea. Alright, so just another note that they make, they say for consistency across the years and systems, we have taken launch games to mean titles available in the US on the day of the system's first availability. Some territories, notably Australia, received an unexpected lineup at launch with titles that have not been included in this analysis. 3 games announced for the US launch, Human Resource Machine, Little Inferno, and World of Goo, weren't released as planned. Some games only have a few reviews on Metacritic, and systems released prior to 2000 don't have Metacritic ratings. With direct comparison to the Wii U, we'll start off with that. That had a 69.12 and 33 games released for it. And if you're talking about the Wii, for example, that had 21 games and that had a 66.19. The 3DS fared really bad with a 63.19 and 16 games. Definitely not a lot of quality in there. The GBA did okay. Now, and if you want a direct comparison to PS4 and Xbox One, PS4 was 73.88 with 25 games, and Xbox One was 68.33 with 20 games. The 3DS lineup was just atrocious. But I think that just goes to show you, like I've been saying, quality over quantity. A lot of people were saying, oh, there's not enough games. Wii U had more third-party ports and all that. Yeah, but none of you guys bought those third-party ports. Even the people complaining about third-party support on Nintendo systems didn't buy those games, and necessarily weren't the best ports out there. People had already played them. There were various issues. I think it was better for Nintendo to focus on high-quality exclusives or games with exclusive content, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Very high-quality exclusive. But even if you don't count that, Shovel Knight, Spectre of Torment, that's new content that's coming there. That's an 87. Snipper Clips, new game, 81, and Fast RMX, 80, and worth buying on there. So I do agree that having those type of games, those exclusives or exclusive content games, was a much better idea than having a bunch of third-party ports that didn't perform as well PS3 and Xbox 360. That's just my opinion on the matter, especially Fast RMX. That game is actually really good. Plays so smooth, has online multiplayer, they're adding content to it, so I definitely 100% believe that Fast RMX should have been probably higher than that. I'm working on my review at this point, and it's a very good game. I think that's why you're kind of seeing the record sales and all of that, just because there are those games that Nintendo fans are looking for more so than having third-party games just to have third-party ports that people have already played. Let me know what you guys think about all of these numbers here. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you did like it. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest news, reviews, discussions, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you ninjas for the next video. Peace.